Welcome to Coming Clean with Indy Lee, a podcast series about living with passion, acting with purpose, and being fully present. I'm your host, Indy Lee. In today's episode, I interview Quani Burnett of Beauty for Brown Skin. I cannot wait for you to listen to this podcast. I know you will be inspired as I am by her. Hi, everybody. It's Indy. Welcome to the podcast. I cannot tell you how excited I am and how honored I am that I get to spend this episode with a dear friend and someone who I hold very close to my heart, Quani Burnett. Quani and I met, my gosh, like a year and a half ago.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, and by the way, for those of you who don't know, although I kind of feel like everybody does know who you are, you're kind of like famous now. But
No.
Quani has an Instagram account, Beauty for Brown Skin. She is an advocate for change. She is really helping to push the agenda of inclusivity, but done in such an authentic and beautiful way, and really working with brands to help them effectuate change on their side. So for me, it's an honor that I know how busy she is. By the way, we'll go into this. She also has another full-time like career, but took time to talk with me today. So Quani, I love you, and I am so honored that you're here with me today.
I love you too. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us in this conversation. So, as Indy said, my name is Quani, and my Instagram is beauty for, like the number 4, brown skin. And, ever since I started my platform, one of the focal points that I've always preached is visual representation among the social platforms of beauty brands. And I also really advocate for inclusivity. And when I say that, it's definitely important to have that same representation within these companies in positions of influence as well. So, I definitely try to attack it from all sides. And it's just something that honestly has really come naturally to me. And I'm quite thankful to just have these types of conversations.
Well, what's amazing is you have been really having these conversations and proactively reaching out to brands long before what's going on right now in society with Black Lives Matter. This has been something that you set on this path to create change before people were making it top of mind. And something that I appreciate, what I think was so striking for you, with you was you reached out to me and said, "Hey, this is what I'm noticing. I'd love to see more representation on your feed." And I'm like, "Yes, could you help me with that?"
Mm-hmm.
And we just created this friendship. And I love that you're now creating a platform and people are getting to recognize who you are and why you are. And you are creating change and we are seeing changes. And I can tell you from personally, just from what you've done with me, and we were having this conversation a little bit before we started to record. As a result, I have developed relationships with other influencers in the BIPOC community. And I'm proud to say that when I look at my feed, it is more inclusive. And I'm excited. This is Wani knows when my daughter looks at my feed, she's going to see her representation there, both my daughters. And that's something that was always important to me that we had talked about, but I love that we're seeing all brands are doing this. And, we talked about this. There's no straight line to getting there.
Exactly. And I think so. So one thing for me, like especially with the pull up challenge and just other things, one thing that I think that there's ways that you can acknowledge what a brand is doing without necessarily always condoning everything that they may have done in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when all of that first came out, I mean, I won't lie, I spent a lot of time, when brands were showing their stats, and I would say thank you, thank you for being transparent. But then I would send this like separate longer message, and I would say, I implore you to, look at visual representation, look at your hiring practices, look at, and I kind of gave kind of a general statement to these brands, and something like you said, like there's no straight line, regardless of the intention behind the
Mm-hmm.
brand. I'm still appreciative that one, brands were transparent, so that increased awareness amongst consumers
Yep.
who came together to support Black Lives Matter. and it became something that was bigger than just beauty or skincare. And then three, brands were putting their money where their mouth was. And so to me, regardless of the intention, the fact that brands were making tangible donations that directly benefited me and my people, that was everything to me. And so, I acknowledge all of that. And
I
again,
know.
it doesn't mean that I condone, but I acknowledge that all of those things collectively helped Black people. And for that, I mean, I can say that I appreciate that.
And I think the important thing for brands, and I know personally for me, is just it shouldn't be contained to just this time.
Mhm.
We have the opportunity to change the future
Yes.
and
And
create a new historical narrative, one of inclusivity,
right.
and do it in a way where we're all raising each other up.
Mhm.
Um, and there are a number of marginalized communities, and how are we doing that? And how are we being transparent and not afraid to ask for help? As I said to Deb, sorry, Quani, and I'm going to go into that because Quani did change her name. So um, it's not Quani's responsibility to educate me. It's my responsibility to educate myself on matters that I don't feel I know enough of. And that's not just in the Black Lives Movement, that's in any movement. You don't rely on other people to teach you. You go out there and you proactively learn and step into your uncomfortableness and have the conversations that don't feel good, but learn why they're not feeling good. And for me, that's what this has all been about, is how are we going to take that uncomfortableness and move forward to consistently create change from this point forward.
And that's, again, that those conversations are much too large to talk about just in one podcast. And so
Yeah.
I think I think one thing, something that I recently shared on my stories was that um, sometimes I think, and I'm not saying that this is the case now, but we may have to realize that right now, what we're doing is just planting the seeds. And I say that because think about, we're protesting now. My grandparents were protesting in the 1960s.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so we need to look at them and say they've been doing this for, however many years, and they didn't necessarily see a true amount of change. And so I definitely think that right now we're just planting seeds, and I'm not sure when those seeds will be watered, and I'm not sure when we're going to see the actual fruits of the labor. Everyone's like, well, how are we going to change? And again, there's multiple things that need to occur. But one thing that I've been encouraging people, including myself, is I think sometimes we have to look within. Identifying implicit biases,
Yes.
that's and having those hard conversations with your loved ones and the people who are around you, because something the late rapper Tupac Shakur, something he said that always stuck with me. He said, I don't need to be the person that will change the world. I just need to spark the mind of the person that will change the world.
I
And
love that.
so and so if, again, if you're only keeping it within yourself, or you're making it very singular, again, you have to branch out. And so you have to have those conversations again with the people that so then they can have the conversations with the people that they know.
Yep.
And, I think that's just one very, very small part of how change is enacted. But again, I think when people can at least acknowledge and dismantle their implicit biases, and discriminations, then we can try to work on the systemic
Yeah.
bias, discrimination, and racial injustice that we have.
I'm doing a tremendous amount of reading and watching and research to understand where mine are, because listen, of course I have to. I am a consequence, I don't know what the word is, but of basically of my life, right? Of my life experiences. And
Yep.
that starts from the point I was born to now. And all that has gone into creating who I am. And what have I seen or been a part of where maybe I wasn't the best ally? What is that? What was that about? How can I change that? When did it happen? Why did all those things that I need to look in myself, that I think all of us need to look in of itself. Was there a time where I crossed the street, for no other reason? I
And
don't know.
it was unconscious.
Yeah.
You did.
Or the conversation that I had with my parents, and I've been having some really beautiful conversations, and I think I'm very lucky of the way I was raised. And I'm very proud of the way my parents raised, but it was interesting. I was having a conversation with them, and my mom said, I I did you an injustice. And she said, and I didn't realize it until now. And I said, okay, well, what are you talking about? And she said, I always told you, don't look at somebody's skin color. Like, you shouldn't judge it based on, you need to be. And she goes, and you know what? In doing that, my intention was, don't judge a book by its cover, but I did not allow you to see the hardship that they had had.
Mhm.
And she said, and I'm sorry, because I didn't realize that there's something to that that's harmful, and I didn't realize it until now.
That's the beauty of it. Again, um, sharing stories, experiences, that's, like you said, that's what makes up one's life. And as we continue, and that's one of the things I'm so appreciative of amplifying Black voices right now, because for so long we were muted, and
Yeah.
and no one cared to listen to what we had to say. And so as we're able to share our experiences, our allies and non-Black counterparts can really begin to understand, again, the hardships and just some of the things that we go through. Like, even racial microaggressions, so like, you said, so for example, when I first came on this platform, you know um, I used to always feel like my name was too ethnic, meaning I was discriminated against by my name. So working in healthcare, when people saw my first name, they would assume that I wasn't, a doctor of physical therapy. They would assume
Mhm.
I had a position that wasn't worthy of that title. And, I just didn't feel comfortable sharing my real name. And so when people began to amplify Black voices, it came to a point where I finally felt empowered to say, this is my name. My name is Quani, and I have a doctorate degree, but I'm also from Flint, Michigan, where the water still isn't clean. And,
Mhm.
all of the, they make me up, but they don't necessarily define me. And
I
so,
love that.
I
And
definitely,
I
I,
love that you changed your name, by the way. I think it's, well, as someone who changed my first name legally
I,
10 years ago,
I,
I was like, wait, she changed her name. I got to change it in my contacts.
no, it's, again, just my name is Kwani. I just on my platform, I just shared a nickname. That's all. So it wasn't like I'd done a full name change. I just didn't showcase like my real name.
And
So
I love that now you feel comfortable to
yeah,
do it, and not comfortable, but you feel that no, I don't like that term. That you feel empowered.
power, for sure.
Like,
And
this is who I am. Accept me for my beautifulness and who I am. Get to know who I am, and this is my name.
mhm, yeah,
And
no,
you are, I think, one of the most beautiful individuals inside and out that I know. And I love that we have developed a relationship and a true friendship. I truly consider you a dear friend, that I can have the conversations with, and always say, like I always said, Bonnie, it's not your job to educate me, but help me to learn what I might not know that I did, or, like, how do I have more inclusivity in my feed, better representation in my feed? As we start to look at when our team grows, how do I employ a recruiter who's going to help me find a diverse set of candidates? Because in the past, my I've been very blessed that people have always wanted to join my company, and someone knows somebody and whatnot. And we had this conversation before. Paying recruiters is very expensive, and I'd rather put it into the salary of the
mhm,
person who we're hiring, or be able to hire more people or do more things. But
mhm,
you know what? I can't walk the walk and talk the talk if I'm not going out and proactively. If I'm saying I'm an ally, then you need to be an ally. You need to realize, unfortunately, there's a cost with having a recruiter, which is fine. That's a business cost. But then you're starting to bring more voices to the table, more inclusivity. You're showing up the way you want to show up as a brand and as a person.
Exactly. And, to be quite honest with you, it would behoove companies to hire Black people. Um,
Of
rep-
course.
Representation, it's invaluable. It really is invaluable. And I have directly, I've been privy to have an understanding of when you incorporate more inclusivity to whether it's a product or a campaign or what have you, that from a business
Yeah.
standpoint, generates more sales. And I mean, that's not the purpose of
No.
it, but as a business and understanding, you know, business ethics, like that's there's nothing wrong with that. Like
No.
it you
And for
know,
me, how can I say that this brand is for everybody if they're not looking and seeing everybody within a feed? And how can I look at product development? And if I'm not having, all
a
different skin
person
types, a person
exactly
of color, but how do I have additional voices at the table? By having all of this diversity within an organization, you get to have very interesting and rich conversations and grow as a brand. And
exactly
that's what I'm looking forward to.
Exactly. And, to kind of backtrack a little bit, I really, it's in my bio, pushing the agenda of
Yep.
inclusivity. Really do value the word inclusivity over diversity because, I just want it to be something that just becomes seamlessly transitioned into all the brands. So it's not about, you hire this one brown person,
Right.
this one Black person. It should just be in the very core and DNA of who these brands are. And so all of that takes time.
It does.
I again, with the pull-up challenge and people wanting accountability, I think that again, there are things that brands need to do in the short term, but I also there's going to be things it's going to be, to be
It
honest,
should never stop.
yeah,
I
it's going
think
to
this
be,
is a let's go forward and go forward hard. But as we do, let's go and be proactive and say what we said we're going to do and hold ourselves accountable to it.
correct.
I
Yeah.
can't say that this is, otherwise I'm not being transparent. I'm not being authentic. How, like, what made you go from, obviously you're a doctor of physical therapy, like how, how did this start? Like,
For sure.
I'm
Yeah.
really interested.
For sure. So, so one thing that, growing up, I would say that my family definitely ingrained into me that I was to get a stable job. And so, growing up, I actually wanted to be an athletic trainer. Um, but I chose a physical therapy because it was a doctorate degree. And I told you kind of the discrimination that I
Mhm.
faced because of my name. So I was like, well, at least, if I
It says
get the
doctor.
doctor, gonna have to call me doctor. So, I chose physical therapy and I chose working for the government because again, it was stability, and that was really what my family wanted for me. And so, um, right before I started my blog, I actually was interning for the Wnba. I thought I was living the dream. I was doing that on the side, but it didn't make me happy. What was supposed to be the best time of my life was actually the worst,
Mm.
and my skin was actually really bad. And so when the season ended, I ended my internship, and I had like all this like free time on my hands. And so, I remember like I became a Sephora Rouge member, and I spent trying to find products that worked for
Spent
my
a
skin.
lot of money on product.
So once I actually started to find products that worked for my skin, and I would look on their social platforms, one of the blaring things that stood out to me was that I didn't see people who looked like me. And that was honestly, again, visual representation was like a true focal point of what my platform was. And so representation is so important because like I need to see someone who looks like me
Yeah,
in order to know that the product will work for me. you know
agreed. Exactly.
that's so important. And it's not just in the social feeds, it's in the advertising. If you walk into Sephora and,
Yep.
all of the pictures besides the products, if no one looks like me, then I'm like, is this going to work on
This
my
is going to
skin?
work for my skin. Absolutely.
So, honestly, just, you know, I just had an idea that I really wanted to push visual representation, and I just went with it.
And I'm so happy you did, because as a result, I have you in my life, which has been
Yeah,
a true blessing.
it's just funny how everything has just
Yeah.
very organically happened, and it's just, being in California, I was able to, meet a lot of brands, because
Yeah.
a lot of brands are based out here, or they have events out here, and the more events I went to, the more people I met, and that's kind of led up to just everything now. But I definitely will say, like, this wasn't what I thought. I mean, when I first started, so it's just something that definitely has happened very organically, and I'm thankful for that.
So, okay, we know you have a full-time job as a doctor,
I
right?
do. I
I
do.
like, okay. Plus you've prior to Black Lives Matter, you were, like you said, pushing the agenda of inclusivity. Okay, now we have Black Lives Matter, which has really, I know, just amplified, given them the opportunity to amplify your voice and your mission. And a lot of people are reaching out to you to help and talk to them and whatnot. And people have always listened to you. So now you're able to share more information. How do you find the time to take care of yourself?
I definitely think that is, it's an ever challenge. So one thing, one thing that I started to do was that I started to stop scrolling like mindlessly through Instagram,
Mhm.
meaning I'm very strategic. So I'm strategic in like what I follow. I'm strategic in stories that I watch. Um, and it's definitely a balance of sharing resources to sign petitions,
Mhm.
or what
Oh,
have you.
I know. I've
Um,
shared, I shared your resource because I thought it was so perfect. I'm like, okay, let's take her link. We have swipe ups. Let's start sharing.
Exactly, because there you go. And so, I don't have 10,000 followers yet. And so I'm actually very thankful for my friends with brands, and also just my friends that have the swipe up link, because they're like, listen, Quani, whatever you want us to post, we will do it. And again, it's all about reaching more people,
Yeah.
right? It's all about the impact. And so, I definitely think I've cut down on my time on Instagram. And then the genuine friendships from people that I have made in this community, they have definitely made themselves available to me, and I'm really appreciative of that. So sometimes it's 10 o'clock at night, and I'm crying, and I know that I can text a certain individual and that person will answer, and
Hmm.
be there. So
Oh, I know.
work.
I've texted you late at night, and
I know.
Mike, we're both very close with Michael Ahmed. I've texted him crying late at night with things. And that's what's so beautiful, though, about the social media. I mean, it's a double edged sword for sure,
For
but
sure.
there's some beautiful relationships as a result that I've made that I will cherish forever. But I seriously do not know how you do it. Like I
I
was
don't know.
saying to someone, on our team, I'm like, I hope she's taking care of herself. Like, I don't want to sound like a mom, but like,
Well, if I mean, like, to be completely transparent. So like today, I went on a walk with a friend
oh,
at
good.
5 a.m., and it was great because of COVID and social distancing, I hadn't seen any of my friends. And again, I work in a hospital, so even as people were starting to regather, I didn't, because I have a responsibility to my coworkers and my
Mhm.
patients. Um, Going on that walk today it was just really nice
Got
to.
to be transformational for you.
Yeah,
Um,
it was really
as
neat.
as your friend, I implore you to do that more because you are such a force, but you need to take care of yourself. So there's my little mom piece
We're
that
gonna
I
make it
wanted to say.
a weekly thing, but just something that was actually really nice that I did prior to getting ready for my podcast with you. I actually showered with the Sleep body wash. I know that's fine, but
Shameless plug,
but
but
I had just came from the walk, and it was just I mean, I have the distress one and the sleep, but I really like the sleep one. Like, it just kind of creates this, like, I mean, the shower just
right.
transforms. And then I did a few spritz of the body oil, and then I laid down, and that was everything for me. Like, literally right before
I'm
I
so glad. Well, for those of
got.
you who are driving and listening to this, you'll have to go because we are going to put this on YouTube. You have to see, first of all, she's glowing. She's just gorgeous. Her soul shines through everything anyway. But when I first met, I'm like, Quani, your skin looks fantastic.
Like I didn't sleep well last night, but again, like I was so excited for my walk this morning.
I'm glad you're doing stuff for you. It's
Yeah,
so important
yeah,
because in addition to everything that's going on right now in society, you're still a doctor. You're still out there helping others, and you're still an essential worker. You haven't been able to take a
work
pause from this. If anything,
exactly.
it's just higher, more and heightened.
Yes,
And
for sure.
then there's that concern of how do I take care of myself? And that's why, you have to take care of yourself because we both know that it does boost your immune system. So there's my little, I still have to play the
No,
mama indie part.
to- totally. I love to write. If you follow my Instagram, you'll notice that more of my posts have been leaning a little bit more poetic.
Yes.
And so that's definitely um, that relieves a lot of stress whenever sometimes I might feel anxiety or I may feel just kind of taking in some of the negativity that we see on social media. It just helps me to kind of write it in such a way that is encouraging to other people, but then it's
I
also
love
like
that.
a relief for me. So
Yeah, that's why it was my next question is how do you handle negativity? I mean, listen, with everything going on, everybody has a different agenda and a different way of, creating information and sharing information differently. How do you handle it? I mean, you see so much positive and so much negative going on in the world right now and being so tuned in. How do you handle that?
for sure. I definitely think it's a work in progress. So to share something with you, I remember I had started to be a little bit more vulnerable in my stories. I would sit in my car during my lunch break and I'd
Hmm.
be on them. And so one time, someone they followed me from their beauty account, but they messaged me from a private account to let me know that they thought that I was humble bragging. And I remember it like crushing me because I'm like, me sharing the opportunities that I have. I mean, these things are like literally life changing for me. Like that's not a humble brag.
No.
And I remember it really affected me to the point where, even now I don't necessarily share any good news that I may have been able to have within the beauty space. I don't even share it because I don't want people to think that about me. So, I'm a very sensitive person.
I
I
know
just
you are.
I'm so sensitive and I take everything to heart. So, one thing you talked about, people, the differences between people. I've always had the stance that I respected. So I wrote in the poem, is some people start the fire and some people hold the space. And you need all of that collectively to make change. And I said it in the poem, there's not a right or wrong way. People have every right to feel the emotions that they feel. And I just, I can only speak for me. So I just try to, I try to control what I can control. And so um, I think respecting other people's differences or the negativity that comes, but then also just um, coming to a place of knowing, like, you know your own heart, and sometimes you can't spend your life trying to prove it to other people.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Yeah. I completely agree, and it's a muscle that I also have a hard time with because I am so sensitive, and I don't think people realize that. I don't think people realize a lot of things. Like we're still a small company.
Well,
Uh,
to be honest, if I can just be very honest with you, I think um, like you said, I think some brand owners are very, very vocal, and I think I think you're very visual, but you're not necessarily very vocal. Meaning, obviously, the name of the brand is your name.
yeah,
Obviously, face your face is seen, but I don't necessarily think people know you, and that's kind of the beauty of our friendship is that I've
yeah,
gotten to who you are outside,
yes. It's
and
something that I vacillate. Sometimes I am vulnerable, and then sometimes I'm not, and
Mhm.
I don't know. Like, do people really want to see a vulnerable side to a brand founder, or do they just want to see the products?
No, that's a
It's a
fair
hard
question.
thing, and I don't know, and yet it has my name, and that's kind of why I started Mindful Monday, and why I started the podcast was because I wanted people to get to know me a little bit better, and I thought this was a great way for people to see
Yeah, it's
that.
more intimate too,
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
people who want to listen in, you know that that's your, your audience. And I think that that's important.
exactly. Like they can choose to do it. I'm not necessarily putting who I am in their face. And then
Exactly.
I started to post on my personal Instagram.
Yes, which I loved. Yeah.
Thank you. And then it's so funny. My team's like, well, that's what we want on our feed. I'm like, okay, could we have a conversation? Like, which one am I going on?
Oh, exactly.
And
I
it's a hard thing.
it is.
And then
No,
when people attack, it's like, it's me personally. Like people have to realize if you say something negative, I'm listening. I'm listening and I want to learn and I want to better myself and raise the brand up and do all the right things, but I'm not perfect. But I'm willing to take accountability and try and move forward. But I get nervous. I'm like, what do I say? When can I say things? And it's a hard thing because there are so many people who have sacrificed to be a part of this brand. Um, and I don't take that lightly at all. There are a lot of people who took a chance at investing, in the brand.
for sure.
I don't take that lightly, and I never want to do something that could ever harm the brand because of something that I did or didn't do, or maybe I didn't say the right way. And so I'm trying to find my voice too. I guess
So,
that's what I'm saying.
so I want to, you said that you weren't perfect, and I want to gently say, because sometimes people use that as an excuse, right? They say, oh, I'm only human, I'm not
Right.
perfect. And I think what I am hoping for brands and brand owners is, we I don't need you to be perfect, I just need you to be willing to change. And
Right.
that's and that's, I think that's the beauty. Like, don't be perfect, just be willing, right?
Yep.
Be willing, accepting, be open.
And
you
willing
know
to take some steps that might not be comfortable, but
hmm
and 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 just do it. And what I realize is I'm not gonna, I'm not always gonna be perfect. But I am going to be true to my heart. I'm always gonna be open with people. I'm going to admit when I do something wrong, or if I do something right, I will try to get back up and do it again. And I think
exactly.
that was part of my vulnerability when this first came out and said, I can change, and saying, this is who I am, but I vow to do better. I vow to be a better parent. I vow to be a better, ally, and taking it seriously, but actually doing the work.
Yeah, yeah, doing the work. And that's, again, social media is only one small
Tiny, tiny.
uh,
There's so much behind the scenes and
behind this.
personally that I know. I mean, we have these private conversations. I know I'm doing. So I know you're been getting more involved and looking to help brands. What can we do? How could you help? I mean, share some things that I, I want you to plug you. I'm basically saying, please plug yourself because I think you're a badass. And I think that your heart is so in the right place. And I want people who are maybe driving, who may be in the beauty industry or might not be in the beauty industry, but are looking for someone to help them. How do you see that with you? I don't know how else to say, but please tell people about you because I freaking love you.
No, no, for sure. So, I definitely have been I've been putting it out there that I really am considering transitioning full time in the beauty skincare space. And so, um, I definitely think that, brands, paying for that labor it's vital. Um, I Before I considered, you know, making it a business, or just making it more formal, I used to give away information freely just because I truly wanted to see change. And so even for me, it's been an adjustment to, I have to be a little bit more formal now, and I
And
and I
selfish.
and I have to understand the value that I bring. And so,
Yeah.
ideally, I would love to work in areas of diversity, but also consumer engagement, social media, for a brand full time. So, I definitely think a diversity role. I feel as if as far as like the future of a company, I think a lot of people would benefit from some sort of diversity role, but then it would be my hope that that role could evolve into something more permanent with the job, right? Like I
Right.
don't think I I wouldn't want to necessarily just do diversity or inclusivity for,
Right.
a career. But so I think it just has to be a natural evolving. But
Mhm.
you know, um, I
We
think
used to have that at HBO. We had a diversity council. I was
yeah,
be
and
part
that count, right? And so within that council, you had employees too,
Yep.
right? So again, it's about having a role, but then having a role within that
Yep.
diversity council. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's
Exactly what I mean. HBO is huge, but that's exactly what it is. People from accounting, people from creative, people from all over, HR, legal, at tax, and that's what made it up. And then looking at supply diversity and making sure, are we supporting women-owned businesses? Are we supporting
exactly,
minority-owned businesses? And that was just a part of a function. It was just a part of someone's job that they kind of
exactly.
gotten involved with. But I think right now we're at a place where we have to make some changes now.
For,
You can't say you're going to do it and then not do it. We've got to make the changes. And so I think right now, having someone like yourself go in and help and talk with people so they have a better understanding of what that really looks like and really means is so important.
yeah,
So,
you that external. So that's so. What a lot of people in the pull-up challenge they said in their next steps is that they were creating internal diversity
mhm,
councils, what have you. And so I think it's definitely important to have internal change. But then again, where I see myself is kind of this external role for brands, and having a little bit of more objectivity,
yes,
um, to the things that need to be done,
it could be
and
harder on people that way too.
yeah, and tailoring it too
Yeah,
specific to the brand.
absolutely. I love it. I love it. I implore anybody who's listening to please check out Quani's Instagram. It is it is a wealth of information, and read the highlights. See what she's posting. She has so much information in a non-judgmental way, but really helping to move this inclusivity agenda forward, which has been what she's been passionate about for as long as I've known you, for now the past year and a half, right? And
Ex-
well, probably your entire life, but since I've known you, you've been doing that. But
For
I always
sure.
ask 3 questions, and
Yeah,
then I want you to tell everybody how they can find you. Besides me saying it over and over, beauty for brown skin, the number 4. I might be your publicist soon. So my big 3 questions are: what is your current, what are you currently passionate about?
whew, I am passionate in Black voices being heard, and I'm passionate about seeing the dismantling of racism and racial injustices. Um, I remember I was at a point where I was struggling to keep the two things separate, right? Like I was more so focusing on the inequities that existed within the beauty space, but I think that it's okay. These are intersections of us all, and so being able to combine all of those things, and because I'm at the end of the day, I'm one person.
Yeah.
Um, so I see it from the side of the inequities of the beauty space, and having Black voices be heard, but then I'm looking at it in the greater the greater grand scheme of things. um, I really want to see change. As a Black person, I have a Black brother. I fear for him. If
Mhm.
I don't want him to drive at night, like that, there's a fear that if he gets pulled over, he might not make it. Yeah, so I mean, I'm really I'm I'm just passionate of people. I think people really want to be seen, heard, and acknowledged, or recognized. And so
Everybody
one
does, and we just
thing
haven't allowed it as a society.
so I'm really passionate about amplifying. First, I have to perfect storytelling of myself, and then I want to be able to um, have a say in the storytelling of other Black voices. So that's kind of where
Amazing. What's so then, I'm sure it's very related about what's giving you purpose. I think it's probably that is what's giving you.
yeah,
I don't want to put words in your mouth,
no,
but
mean, I worked my whole life. I spent, 7 years in school. I did a residency, so that's 8 years. I had some struggles along the way, as far as getting into PT school and completing it. And, I didn't have, a lot of money, resources. So like I was one of the only students that like worked multiple part-time jobs in addition to school full time. And I didn't always do it right. And so it's like I'm happy to have the position I'm in, but I do recognize that, I'm not sure that I necessarily did it out of happiness. I did it again because I wanted stability and security for myself and my family. So I think within this beauty space, I've found purpose because it's literally all of this has come so naturally. Like I don't I don't pitch to people. Just everything has just happened in such a way that you can't leave it up to nothing but purpose. Like
Yeah.
all of this has to mean something for me, right? Like
So different, but somewhat similar in that I became an accountant because my mom said I need to be a doctor or a lawyer, a teacher, or an accountant. Don't like blood. Didn't think I had the patience to be a teacher, and definitely can't argue. So I was like, okay, I'm good at numbers. I'll be an accountant. But it wasn't what I loved. I wasn't
right.
passionate about it. But
Mhm.
I'm passionate about educating and empowering me. I feel purpose in what I do every day. So I
Yeah.
completely it makes, that's why I asked the questions, the 3 Ps, the purpose, the passion. So
Yeah.
then the third one is, what do you practice in order to stay fully present or more present?
Um, I am practicing being present. And so when I say that, um, there was an opportunity I had a really, really long time ago, and it fell through. And I remember that I really ruminated on it for a really long time. Um, and so, and then even just a few months ago, I was so anxious about what was going to happen, as far as me and being able to work with brands. And so now I really am taking it day by day, and each engaging conversation, each phone call, each email, DM, I try to take it in as it comes that day, instead of worrying about what's going to happen next. So I've it's a process. I'm journaling a lot more. I mean, I love
Good.
to, but I try to, I make it separate. So like if I'm writing more poetic captions, but then just like I have my journal right here next to me. But I mean, I just write what I feel. So like when I got back from my walk this morning, I just wrote what I felt at that moment, and so that definitely helps me to just
That
stay
is.
present.
People don't realize that's a form of meditation, is journaling. So
Yeah.
I think it's one that I don't practice, that I fall off the bandwagon. Like I get on and I get off.
I
I'm
feel like
really good at meditation, but journaling,
Yeah, but I feel like gardening is like a form of meditation
oh,
for you.
oh, Quani, you should see what's in my greenhouse. I've got purple cauliflower, several different types of peppers. I don't even know how many different types of cucumbers, kale. Um, I just went berserk. I've got snappy. It's just because I'm home. I wasn't home. I was traveling so much, and I am finding there are tremendous amounts of silver linings from this pandemic.
Yeah,
Um, and I'm trying to focus on those because I do know that focusing on positive brings more positive. And the big positive is I'm back in the greenhouse and
right.
I'm seeing and connecting with those, quote unquote roots again. I'm with, I have an older dog who I absolutely adore, and she's been sick and I'm home with her. I'm home with my kids.
Yeah,
Like,
that's big.
yeah, I have to tell you, I didn't, that was such an incredible blessing to have that time with them, that like, especially Jacob, who came home from college that I never expected to have. But I don't know that I enjoyed being Samaya's third grade teacher helper.
For sure. Yeah,
I
I parents. Yeah, I think parents. That was like the one thing they weren't anticipating.
No, it's not a strength for me.
Yeah,
I do not understand Common Core math. So
And then the new way that they're teaching division and it's, yeah.
Oh, please. I was like, I don't know. Take a calculator out. I don't know. So
Exactly.
it's insane. Quani, I thank you so much for giving me this gift of your time.
No problem. I mean, I love you, Andy. And again, uh, just being, it's therapeutic to talk and to share my voice and to hopefully, even if it just encourages one person,
Yep.
it
Well, I
was
think
worth.
you are both the space and the spark.
I really appreciate that.
I really do. So again, I'm going to include it in the show notes. It's beauty for the number 4 brown skin. And Quani, I really hope that there's another part 2 to this because I think there's still a lot to discuss. And I welcome you. I told you when this first started,
I know you did.
I said, you want to get on and take over Mindful Monday? Are there things, what can I do to amplify everything you're saying? And the offer is always open.
Thank you.
Mwah! Love you.
Love you too. I will talk to you later.
Okay. Well, I'm sure by now you can understand why I am obsessed with Quani and everything that she does. I truly, I ask you to check out what she's up to. Again, at Beauty for the number 4 brown skin. She is just an incredible resource and an incredible soul. Again, hope you enjoyed this podcast. And if you liked what you heard, please subscribe and, of course, leave a review. And as always, if there are other ideas for contents or guests that you would like to hear on the show, please email me at comingclean@indylee.com. Again, comingclean@indylee.com. Have a great day, guys.